If we, what we're going to move on to next is we're going to reduce these rational expressions. We're going to reduce these fractions to lowest terms. Okay, for example, and we're going to multiply and divide. For example, if I have 8 over 9, that's not what I want yet. Let's say we have 8 over 18. Okay, then that fraction's not in lowest terms. Okay, it reduces farther down, and while we don't write this step on our paper, we do recognize that the top and the bottom have a greatest common factor of 2. So I could write 8 as 2 times 4, and I can write 18 as 2 times 9. And then when I take 2 over 2 and I look at that, what does that become? Anything divided by itself is 1. So in essence, we can think about it going away or disappearing or canceling out. And the fraction 8 over 18 in lowest terms is 4 over 9. Understand when we're reducing a fraction to lowest terms, we can only reduce if the top and the bottom have factors in common. If I write 8 as 7 plus 1, and I write 18 as 7 plus 11, okay, notice that if I try to cancel out the 7s there, that leaves me with 1/11. Okay, I just said that 8 over 18 reduced to lowest terms is equal to 4/9. 4/9 and 1/11, definitely not equivalent fractions. Okay. When I am reducing a fraction to lowest terms, I can only reduce a fraction if there are factors in common top and bottom. A factor means a part of the product, a piece of the product. So same thing is true over here. If we take those same 3 expressions that we were working with on the last video, we were worried about domain on these problems back then. Okay, but here if I want to reduce them all the way, I want to put them in lowest terms. Okay, from what I just said, is it okay for me to just mark out those x's and call that equal to -5/2? Hopefully you're all sitting at home in your pajamas saying, no, Ms. Jackson, that's not right. Okay, we can only reduce a fraction if they have what in common, top and bottom? If they have factors in common. And so a factor means a piece of the product. And if I look at x plus 5, is there any way that I can write that any better than x plus 5 in terms of a product? There's not. It doesn't break down anymore. And the same with x minus 2. I do not want it yellow. So this fraction on top is already in lowest terms. If you copy one out of the book or on a homework quiz or test, okay, and it's already in lowest terms, don't just write nothing on your paper. Circle it or tell me in words that it's already reduced all the way or that it's in lowest terms. Okay, something so I know that you didn't just write it down and then forget to do it or didn't know what to do with it. So when we come down to the next problem, again, I can't just wipe out that 2 and the 4, or those x squared terms. I can't cancel across a plus sign or across a minus sign. I can only reduce if there are factors, the same top and bottom. So what that means, and I factored the bottom in the last step for something else, okay, but I'm going to factor the top, I'm going to factor the bottom, if possible. It wasn't possible on the top one, and then I'm going to see what I have. The 2 numbers that multiply to be 2 and add to be 3 are positive 2 and positive 1. Once I have things broken down, I look and say, are there any factors the same exactly on the top and the bottom? And here there are. The x plus 2 over itself goes away and leaves behind a 1. Okay, since it's a 1, I don't have to write it down. But what I'm left with is x plus 1 over x minus 2. The second fraction in lowest terms, once I've reduced it all the way, looks like x plus 1 over x minus 2. On the bottom one, if possible, I need to factor the top. If possible, I need to factor the bottom. And then if there are any factors in common, top and bottom, I'll reduce it to lower terms. Okay, when we're factoring things in this chapter, we can factor anything using any method that we talked about in the sections in the chapter before this. Meaning the first thing we should always look for is what? Hopefully you're all yelling greatest common factor at me through the video screen. Okay, the top, both terms have a 3 and an x in common, leaving behind an x and a minus 2. We factored the bottom earlier because we were looking for the domain and we needed it broken down for that reason. And so we already know that that's x minus 3 and x minus 2. Comparing the top and bottom, we see that they both have x minus 2 factors. We can wipe those out. And when we write down what's left, we have 3x on top and x minus 3 left on the bottom. Just fucking circle that also. Okay. When we're reducing a fraction to lowest terms, it comes down to factor and cancel, factor and cancel, factor and cancel. I'm going to go ahead and stop this here and try to keep these video snippets short. And so we'll pick up with the next idea here in a minute.